everything's gonna be pretty special here on campus. So I think Friday night of homecoming will be a pretty cool opportunity for our fans to see our program. And out on campus, won't be here in the arena, but the details are still coming together on it. So hopefully you guys will be hearing some more about it over the next couple days, maybe next week early.
Do you have any teasers, maybe?
Not yet. I mean, you got to have information to have teasers. All I've got is a date. But I think it's going to be pretty cool. The concept that they're thinking of is trying to integrate ourselves with homecoming and be a part of the campus atmosphere that's already existed on. So
I know you sent out the tweet asking for ideas. What kind of spawned the idea to do something different this year?
I really don't know. I think this started maybe a couple of years back with more of the students. I think for years, and obviously I've only been here a short amount of time, but it's been like a mandatory come over to GIA thing. For guys who went to school here, I guess that was a thing. And it kind of lost some of its allure maybe over the years. And so I think the student body was looking maybe to try to do something different with their portion of all night pomp or the pep rally, whatever it is. And so when I heard that they was thinking about not using GIA, I wanted to make sure that we were still, a part of it, because again, we're just a part of this campus, just like all the other students, and we wanted to make sure that the basketball program had an opportunity to take part in whatever was going on campus.
Bryce, Rondell kind of mentioned that something y'all have been doing early on is working on the press a little bit. I mean, just knowing the guards you have, is that something you want to do this year? Kind of build upon? I mean, you did something last year, but
I think so. It's early, so this team will evolve into whatever it's going to be at some point, probably in early January. So we're ways away from that, but I think the depth and athleticism we have may be best served by trying to create tempo and help me. Excuse me, I should have turned this off. Give me an opportunity to use the depth that we have. And again, I said it the last time I was in here. 200 minutes is a pretty challenging task in front of me. Got to try to create as many opportunities for guys as possible.
Didn't get to ask you last time, but what were your thoughts on the conference realignment with all the changes and the schools coming in?
I think it's pretty cool. I think my job got harder, to be perfectly honest. I enjoy that challenge, though. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for all 4 schools who've been invited and have accepted those invites. I've watched Cincinnati basketball for a long time, they've transitioned their way through a lot of conferences, it seems, in my lifetime. But I certainly remember when Coach Huggins was there and the success that he had and kind of creating an identity for that program, which is, credit to him, has kind of stayed with them, since. That kind of tough, high level of success, recruit guys who really want to work hard. What Coach Sampson has done at the University of Houston is nothing short of phenomenal, really. I was working at Stephen F. Austin not too long ago, and we had a better basketball program than the University of Houston did. I mean, it just is what it is, and that's not the case anymore. And it's a lot to do with his commitment and then their commitment to investing in that program. And he's recruited really well. Went to a Final Four a year ago and is one of the all-time great coaches in the history of our game. And Central Florida's had some success, not as consistent as the other programs. And I've never been to BYU, but I've seen the environment at their basketball games. So, not necessarily looking forward to it, but I know it's going to create some more competition in a league that's already, in my opinion, the best in the country.
How much were you involved with talks with maybe Chad and Casey, kind of, and with the conference realignment stuff? Were you involved in any talks with them?
No. I think my players think I'm pretty important, but as you go up this, it's like the other way, become less important. But I trust Chad, obviously, and Dr. Shrum to do what's best for our university and athletic department. And I think their vision and their commitment to making sure that we're always going to be positioned to have long-term success and have a chance to compete for championships is, I don't question anything. I offered that if they wanted to ask my opinion, but no one followed up on that.
Are you excited to go play ball in Orlando one day?
Sure. I mean, I like Orlando. All right.
Is that a big recruiting area for basketball at all?
We've recruited down in Florida. we've had a kid from Florida on our team. I think every year I've been here as either assistant or head coach, to be honest. We haven't recruited down there heavily, I wouldn't say, but we're always mindful. Heavily dense populated places, right? Florida, New York, Texas. When you get outside of the state of Oklahoma, areas we'll focus on a lot. Really good athletes down there. Bryce Williams is clearly one of those. And so, yeah, it'll kind of expose us a little bit more in that area and certainly won't hurt the recruiting.
Does having a future secured, whatever it was going to be, help a bit in terms of what you can sell of this program?
Yeah, I think not being able to be clear in messaging makes your job more challenging. So having a clearer picture of what the future could look like definitely, makes those conversations easier. So yeah, I think there's some merit to that, and I'm excited that this, at least for the time being, feels like we're all settled for at least the foreseeable future.
You changed the offense some last year, obviously with Cade, more ball screen, stuff like that. Do you go back to the pre-Cade era with this group, or do you kind of still transition with Avery and with Ice and things like that?
Yeah, it's a very we're still evolving in that area, to be quite frank. Mostly in the sense of we have there's less clarity on who should be the guy with the ball. Right? We had a lot of good players last year, but I think everybody knew still he was better than all the good players. Right? Now there's a little bit less separation in terms of that, and so we're trying to figure out who's going to be like. I ask the guys sometimes who we're down one, we got the last possession, who we give the ball to. And, it's a wide variety of answers right now, and our job as a staff is to figure out who's most comfortable and who's most productive in those situations. But the offensive offense guys kind of become more comfortable. Got several guys who are being asked to do more now than they were a year ago, and then a few guys who have never been here. Bryce Thompson being one of them, who's very capable, but is he that guy, or is he more of a decoy? Is he a better screener? Is he coming off screens? Is he a ball? So we're still finding that out with 6 practices in, and sorry, I don't have a ton of clear answers yet.
Is it uncommon to know that, or how rare is it to not kind of know at this point in the season? Obviously, so early. How rare is it to not know who that guy is?
My experience is it's not rare at all. It's more rare, at least for me, the other way. And when a player's that good, it makes it pretty obvious. I think I was asked if I was going to give Cade the ball at the end of the game after he struggled at TCU last year. I don't even know if I thought about not giving him the ball ever. But now, right, there's really a question. Maybe you try somebody different, but not in that situation.
Is it maybe a game-by-game flow?
No,
type thing?
I think it'll become clearer as we move forward, to be honest. I mean, it all shakes out, kind of as the season goes and guys get more comfortable with their teammates and what they're capable of doing. I think we know what Avery's really good at. I think we have a really good idea, like what Ice is good at. But, Bryce Thompson, with the rest of the guys who he may be on the court with, is a different story. Woody Newton, if he's out there with, depending on the combination, is a different story. So that's part of it. It's just trying to figure out the new guys and how they fit with some of the returners.
3-point shooting outside of Cade was a little streaky last year. I think you have the guys to be a good 3-point shooting team. How's that kind of developed this offseason?
It's gotten better. We're probably a little bit further ahead than I thought we'd be. It was a concern of mine. I think I talked about it at the very end of last season. What do we need to address? I think, as I recall, it was interior presence defensively, being able to defend in the paint, which has been an area of struggle for us, and then perimeter shooting consistently. We have guys that are capable, just haven't done it yet, with the lights on. Keelan Boone's had stretches. His freshman year didn't shoot poorly. Last year he struggled out the gate. Chris Harris has been injured. He's another candidate in that area. And then Bryce and Woody are probably 2 guys that we'll try to give a shot on those spots as well. But that changes the dynamic of what really is the ceiling of this team. Because athletically, we'll be one of the more elite athletically. But our skills got to make sure it's complementary of that.
Rondo talked about the shot chart, kind of everyone turns it in at the end of the week. That's new, right?
No, we've always done it. he hadn't talked about it because he really didn't talk much last year. But yeah, it's something we've always done, and it's just something we've been putting more of an emphasis on this year because we do feel like it's an area we have to be better at. We can't be, you know, a low 30% shooting team from three. We've got to be mid to high 30s, and if we do that, we'll have a real chance of talking about being here, you know, and having these type of meetings about this team well into March.
I think MA's kind of caught some attention nationally. What have you seen from him growth-wise? What do you kind of expect from him this season?
Just he's settled, you know. It's pretty natural. I mean, we've only had one guy, right, that's been just come in and be able to really dominate at this level. And I wasn't here for Juwan. I guess I'm sure he was pretty good. I don't know if he had the type of impact that Cade did. But the majority of guys are like MA and Avery and Caleb, right? They come in, and if they're good enough, they show some signs, right? But they just can't consistently produce and help you win. And then as a sophomore, they become more comfortable with whatever role it is that they have for your team and can help you. And then as a junior, you hope that they can really be a leader for you. And that's where he is. He's in that process of transitioning from a guy who's just trying to figure out what I'm saying to really, now we're speaking the same language, and he's being able to go out there and help other guys as well.
Does his role change with some of the guys you brought in some bigger guys? Did that kind of scoot him out a little bit, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably be able to play on the perimeter more this year, right? With Musa, and with Tyreek especially, just the physicality that we have with those guys can give him a little bit more freedom to move and maybe take advantage of his quickness against maybe some guys that may be guarding him on the perimeter, or being able to use his size still as a post-up guy if they're smaller wings that are guarding him. So we'll move him around quite a bit, similarly to how we did Cade and Cade and Ice last year. And again, he'll play some point. I mean, not a ton. But he'll log a percentage of his minutes there as well.
Bryce Thompson has put on a few more pounds. He even thinks he grew maybe an inch. Does he look physically different to you than the guy you saw on film at Kansas last year?
Yeah, so I saw him twice. We played him, but you don't really pay attention to the guys on the other team that much. But I noticed he was bigger when he came to campus. We were helping him check in. I can't remember what day it was, and I was like, man, he's grown. He's legit 6'5" and a half now. And I think he's up to 200 pounds. He came in here about 190, 189. So he's been pretty conscious about, taking care of his body, eating right, stretching, getting in the weight room, and continuing to work on his game. So he's a guy he's been a pleasant surprise physically for us.
And I know those seem like subtle differences to maybe some of us, but what difference does 5 more pounds make for a guy like him?
I think the first thing it does is his confidence, right? I lived through it. I was 168 pounds when I got to college and couldn't lift the bar. So I was a poor man's version of the Boons when I got to college. If there is a such thing. So the athletic ability I had was negated by my lack of strength. And I couldn't really produce the way I thought I was going to be able to. And I quickly learned if I didn't take the weight room seriously, didn't eat right, and didn't put on some weight to where I didn't get knocked off the ball, couldn't finish it through contact, it was going to be hard. So no doubt when those guys come here, Rondell went through it last year a little bit. He plays really hard, flies around, but finishing, it's really difficult when you don't have the strength, especially at this level. So it's a big difference, confidence-wise, but then also just the physicality of it. Your body being able to go through the wear and tear of a season, and being able to kind of play through some fatigue and injuries and things like that.
I forgot to ask this last time, but is there any NCAA update on the sanctions?
Unfortunately, I mean, I feel bad, to be honest, that there isn't. It's unfathomable to me. It's been way too long, so unfortunately. I wish there was.
Does that become a distraction still, or is it something that players?
I honestly don't know at this point what it is anymore. I think last year's team did a good job of kind of being able to park it in the rearview mirror. I'm really not sure how much this team thinks about it at all. It would be probably, I don't want to say criminal, maybe too harsh, but it it would be pretty difficult to justify, a bad ruling at this point, considering all we've been through.
How much do you think about it?
I think about it because it still comes up in conversation of recruiting. It's a real thing. We lost a recruit this spring because, what you can't tell. So when I can't tell a family something because I'm unsure, right? The people I'm recruiting against are definitely sure that they know something bad's gonna happen, right? So that's the message being delivered. They're getting crushed. And I'm like, well, I don't think we're getting crushed, and I don't know if anything's gonna happen at all. But that, the one is kind of like dancing around. The other one's like, man, they're gonna throw the book at these guys. They don't know that, but it's a recruiting deal, and that's what you deal with.
Is that a all's fair in love and war type deal, or do you kind of not hold grudges, but whenever a opposite coach would do something like that to you, you kind of go like, oh, okay, like, how's that work?
I don't love it. The negative recruiting thing's never been my deal, but I get it. It's part of it. I mean, this is how people make a living, man. Like, that's not the way I choose to go about that part of the job, but I got asked about people losing games by forfeit because they're not vaccinated or whatever teams this year, right? I'm like, no, I don't think anybody should lose a game because a team got sick. Like, because coaches get fired for losing games. Like, no one should lose their job then. So that that whole track record. But yeah, it's part of the recruiting game, and it's a very competitive world out there.